Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free impartial advice on all your debt.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special.
What's good, BEVIS, IFL TV, MTK Global, here in Bushy at Jab Boxing Gym with Mr. Anis Taj. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. All the better for being it. It's a lovely gym, this. I always say that, although from the outside it looks like a disused garage, this is a proper good little setup, isn't it?
It is. I never started my pro career here with Josh and at Jab, but it's a good gym. When I came down and had a look at it, it's everything you want in one place. So, you love it.
And obviously some good sparring here and some good stories which we'll get on to. But this is your first IFL appearance, so it's one of those get-to-know interviews. So you might as well take it right back, right to the start. Growing up, was it always boxing for you? Was it sort of a family thing?
I grew up with my grandparents and my father. My mother and father split up when I was about 3 years old. I'm half Scottish, half Pakistani. Peculiar mix, but that's I've grew up with my grandparents, and I was never left wanting. I was always shown sort of like your average story that with hard work you will get rewards. So I was given educational challenges. So reports need to be good, but you had incentives at the end of it to make sure that I had that educational background, not just going for sports. But I started off being a footballer. Started off playing football, then I went into rugby as a transition to, I went to a grammar school. So it wasn't football, it was rugby that we played. So went into rugby, but boxing's always been something that my family love. The big fights. My uncle had a collection of Muhammad Ali videos, Mike Tyson videos. So it's growing up, I've always been watching them. And I remember 2003, I was 7 years old, in the living room of my grandparents' house. My uncle, my father, a few of their friends, and me on one sofa with the duvet on top of me watching Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis in the early hours of the morning. So it's always been prevalent to a degree.
So basically, it wasn't sort of a childhood where, because we spoke about, Mark Iani, who I done an interview with the other day, it's not that sort of hardship, pulled off the streets. It's pretty standard educational incentives, you get rewards, but boxing's always been sort of there in the forefront. And like you said, Tyson Lewis was the fight that got you, your first big memory, should we say. And then obviously you got to jump in and you want to try it for yourself. And what was it, just walk into a gym one day or, yeah?
So what it was is in year 7, so 2007, I walked into a boxing club, Watford Boxing Club. Enjoyed it, but at the same time I was pursuing the rugby a little bit. So I preferred that at the time. Then I walked away from boxing, learnt a little bit, but I started off life as a southpaw. But I'm not a southpaw anymore. Lefties, as they say, you got to have your left hand forward. Your right hand forward. Your left hand's your big hand. But for me, it was my right hand's always been the big hand. So
you was fighting in a southpaw stance with the right hand as the power hand?
No, southpaw stance with the left hand as a power hand.
Oh, right. Sorry, the way you said it, I thought so that's why you changed, right?
Yeah, the right hand was always strong, but they tried teaching me at Watford Boxing Club that because I was left-handed, I needed to be a southpaw. But eventually turned into an orthodox boxer, did a little bit, then I moved away, like I said, into my rugby and into my education, really. And it wasn't until year 11, so 2012, where I walked back into boxing, and this time at St Albans Amateur Boxing Club, and picked it up. I wanted to box. It was something that I'd always enjoyed watching, and it was a case of, I'm going to try it. And first few sessions, and I guess you could say I got the bug, and I've never looked back.
I want to skip into sort of the amateur stuff now. So I know you do that thing where you travel around the country, you fight guys that nowadays people start knowing. Back then you never really know what they'll achieve, but I know you've been in with a couple of people who've now signed to big promoters and becoming names themselves in the UK. Do you want to run us a little bit through the sort of competitive start to your amateur career?
I actually had my first fight in 2012, so 6 months after I started properly training. And then I've always been a big lad, so I've always been around 80 plus kilos. And at 16, 17, you can't find many people who are competitive other than sort of the guys who are slightly upper in the echelon levels, shall we say. So my first big fight was against a lad called Billy Lee from Stevenage. Now, he was ex-time national champion, 45 fights, only 4 lost, and I gave him a proper hard fight. And at the end of that, that's when I thought, I can do something in boxing and I'm going to pick it up. So I started training properly, making sure I ran every day, making sure I'd done the training properly, put my heart into it. Then fast forward to 2014, so about a few months later, from the Billy Lee fight, I boxed a lad by the name of David Adelaide. All respect to David, he's done himself very well. At the time, we were both in the Haringey Box Cup. He'd just come off his junior ABA victory. He was a junior ABA champion. I was just the little old Anis Taj from St Albans. Hadn't had much sort of to big my own name up. But Haringey Box Cup final and I beat him. And I won the gold. He's got the silver, But fair play, he's where he is now with Frank Warren. And, you've got to give him respect for how he's portrayed himself, how he's, brought himself forward. And that's huge respect to him. Also boxed a fellow by the name of Ryan Hatton. He's also signed to Frank Warren. So I've been in with a few of the names that, signed with the Frank Warrens and that, and, been on both sides, win and loss. I boxed a boy from Worley in my 18th fight. He was Tri-Nations champion, Tri-Nations gold medalist. I beat him. Then we had a rematch. He beat me 1-1. We always wanted the third, the decider, your Gatty and Ward. But it never happened because my club split with the Alliance. So, and I'm a loyal guy, so I stayed with my club and I moved forward to boxing whoever was available.
I know it seems like I'm skipping quite a big chunk of things here, but you mentioned fighting David Adelaide and the likes of them. How come now it's got to a position where David is sort of someone you'd consider one of the best UK heavyweight prospects in the country? His name's out there. Every time he's on the channel, he's driving and generating views and there's hype around him. And yet you started your professional career and you're not in that same position promotionally, should we say, as him. Sort of how come that's ended up being the case if you were someone who, as you say, beat David in the amateur? It's
all about how you promote yourself. I've not been one to... I'm not saying that David's one to seek, your advertisement and, want the audience. But I'm not someone who does that. I'm not someone who can step from one person to the next person to the next person. As much as some people, like to do that. I'm not saying David's done that, and I'm not disrespecting him in any way. But at the end of the day, some of these boxers who will jump from one person to the next person to the next person, I'm not like that. If it wasn't for COVID, I don't think I'd be sat here at Jab Boxing Club. I was originally with Sean Murphy and Gary Foley out of Finchley Boxing Club. But COVID happened and I'm here, and I am truly of the belief that, God has a plan. God has a plan for everyone. And my plan isn't to be one of the big names at the start of my career, but this is where I put the Cruiserweight division on notice that you will know about me in the end. You will know about me.
You've ended up as a Cruiserweight, like I said, 2-0. And just a quick search of your name would find out that your professional debut, you stopped the man or knocked the man out in 48 seconds, which is, see you smiling, so it's not a bad start to the pro ranks.
It wasn't, no. It was, people have said that it's probably one of the best punches I'll throw. But
the best punch you'll throw is in the first 40 seconds of your pro career.
But at the end of the day, people, they don't realise that shot is something that I've thrown from about 2015. That's a shot that I've put out a number of people with. Sort of your overhand right, or your slightly hooked right. It's one of the most powerful punches that I can throw. And if I catch you with it clean, we just, you know what's going to happen. If you can take a punch, fair enough. If you can't, then, you're going to be on the floor. So my coach had said at the time, Sean Murphy, he thought it was a risk of me taking that fight. 6'9", the guy wasn't, he wasn't a slouch. He was looking to set up his own right hand. I touched him to the body, didn't throw the punch properly, didn't want to land it. I just wanted to see what his hand did. He dropped his left hand. So then I thought, I'll touch you again down there and I'll bring it over. And that's all she wrote.
Not bad. And for anyone who wants to see that, it is available on YouTube as well. So yeah, go and have a look at that. What sort of stage would you say you're at? 'Cause obviously, you've got Jez Smith just walked into the gym, and he's one of the people who's perhaps benefited from staying ready in the gym and taking a chance at the click of a fingers during this COVID period. And now he's a name that, you know, is going to be in the mix for big domestic fights. Where are you at? I know you're only 2-0, so obviously a different stage of your career to Jez, but are you looking to put the division on notice by perhaps taking a fight that you'd be an underdog in the away corner and then try and pull a surprise victory out? Or is it just keep on that path, wait for COVID to finish, try and assert yourself on the small hall scene? Or
if these wolves could talk, they'll tell you about a few of the sparring sessions. Not just with Tom Little, but we've had a few people in here, cruiserweights. I'm not going to mention names, I'm not that sort of person. Sparring is sparring. But I've shown them who I am, and they've gone from here knowing that they may be in the upper echelons of the division, let's say top 10, but they're not on this. I'm on that level. But at the end of the day, I'm only 24 years old. I don't need to rush. I'm not here looking for a payday or trying to make a quick buck. If I wanted to, I've done a law degree, as we were talking about before. I've done my law degree, I've done my LPC. Really, if my grandparents had their way, what they wanted is me to be a trainee solicitor right about now. But at the end of the day, they've, with their blessings, I'm pursuing my boxing career. I'm after a legacy. And my legacy isn't going to be one that I'm going to try and chance or just because of coronavirus. I'm looking to be one of the top names in cruiserweight boxing. I want to be on the level of your Evander Holyfields, on the level of your, David Hayes, on your Usyks, take the cruiserweight division over. And within time, it will happen. I'm not rushing. I don't need to rush. I'm in the gym now, staying not ready for a chance, but I'm ready for when we do get back into the proper fights. I will be levels above what people will expect. So if they're going to expect just a 2-0 novice, what they're really getting is someone who's possibly had about 15 fights, 20 fights. I've not got my experience. My record doesn't speak for my experience. My experience is a lot higher. Same in the amateurs. I only had 36 amateur fights. You might, some people think, you hear about hundreds, but I had 36, but everyone I'd fought had 80, 90, 100. You get selected to the Pakistan national Olympic team. I was selected for the Asian Championships for Pakistan in 2019. Couldn't go, but that sort of thing is what helps my experience.
I'm going to say something now because I'm going to sort of warn you in advance. I know when you mention wanting to be alongside the likes of Holyfield, Hay and Usyk in the future, you are going to get shit. Be completely honest. People will say, hold on, if I've never heard of this cruiserweight, I've never heard of this boy and he's coming on saying he wants to leave a legacy, but what's boxing if you can't dream? What you say, you're not saying you're there now, you know what I mean? You're saying that's where you want to end up. So, you don't know, you could be hitting the domestic scene hard in a year and a half, 2 years. Next thing you know, you're on the cusp of a world title. So boxing changes quickly.
Look, I'm going to look into the camera for this. If anyone,
oh shit!
If anyone wants to say that I can't dream, thank you. I hope that their dreams weren't killed as kids. I hope their dreams weren't killed as young adults. I won't allow my dreams to be killed because of a select few type of people that want to come onto Instagrams, YouTubes, and leave hateful messages. By all means, hate me or love me. You're still talking about me. Like Easy-E said, right? He said, all publicity is good publicity. We'll leave it at that.
We will. But I'm not going to leave the interview at that because I know you said about if these wolves could talk with some of the sparring stories. You were, Joshua just spoke about this, and I don't know if I'm perhaps talking this about something that should stay off record, but I feel like I've got to bring it up. The Tom Little sparring sessions. He was looking for sparring in prep for Alan Babbage. He put you in there. Was still sort of had in the back of his mind he'd look to bring sparring partners in. What was it? I think you both dropped your hands and went toe to toe and had a war and ended up sparring each other for the next 6 weeks.
Well, originally I wasn't actually on the list for sparring partners. I was simply on the list for warm-up, first 4-round sparring, just to get Tom warm and get him back into things. And then it was, I'll stay training and Tom will be doing his sparring. Because my style, my main style, is all wrong. Josh said, and I don't mind saying it, my style is a mix of Muhammad Ali and Roy Jones Jr. Big boots to fill, but for a cruiserweight who can move how I do, reflexes and whatnot, that sort of style is not an Alan Babbage. Alan Babbage is more like your Mike Tyson in effect style, or your Dwight Muhammad Qawi, his style, or even Buster Mattis Jr. when he boxed Tyson. It's a more comfort, or I'm missing the main guy, Smoking Joe Fraser. So that's the sort of style that Babic has. But when I'd put my name forward, Josh said that that's not your sort of style. But I had to tell him, Josh knows me, he'd known me for a few months, but I said to him, that's how I boxed as an amateur. My first 2-3 years as an amateur, I wasn't a good boxer, but I'd go in for a tear-up. And that's where my nickname comes from, Braveheart. I don't mind standing there toe-to-toe. Me and Tom, we stood there. And fair play to Babic, he got the victory. But the sparring that we had, I was mimicking that 90 to 100 punches around. I was getting that all power. I weren't touching Tom. At points I was standing in front of Tom telling him, let's go. But that's when you're there to do a job. I was there to get him ready for Babic, and I did as best as I could. And if I'd release the sparring, never going to do that, just for all you people that want to know. If I would, or if Tom would, later down the line, look back at me and Anise, you'll see that sparring was similar to what Babic brought.
Well, look, if you are ever going to release it, you got me on Instagram, so you can just make sure that we're the channel that gets first dibs on posting.
As long as I get a percentage.
We'll forget that bit. So obviously now you've got a nice little group. Like I said, Jez come in, and Tom was obviously training in here and done quite an emotional interview with Coogan a couple of days ago. He's called it a day on his career. Sad to see, but I suppose in effect the right thing if he feels it's time, Tom.
No one can tell someone when it's time. That's for Tom, that's for anyone. It's when they know themselves. I could have said to Tom, look, maybe have a think about it, but at the end of the day, it's not my right. It's Josh's right as a trainer to say, look, whether he did or not, I'm not going to disclose that, but to say possibly, maybe you should think about retirement, maybe you shouldn't, maybe we should do this again. But Tom called it a day, and you've got to give him his respect. He did do what he did on the tin, basically, what it says on the tin. He jumped in with anyone, and he gave him a fight. Maybe if he put this same sort of determination that he has in the last few months into the beginning of his career or earlier on in his career, would it pan out differently? It possibly would. But that's, hindsight is a cruel mistress, as I like to say. So that's not something really for us to be able to know.
Yeah, and obviously, good luck to Tom in whatever he does. I can imagine he's a sort of person who'll probably still be in here 4 days a week. I know he wants to sort of hang around boxing, I imagine. Is that the sort of thing you expect from Tom? To probably see him here on Monday?
To be honest, I expect him to stay around boxing. If he does or not, he needs some time away, because you need that healing time, because he was upset about the fight because he put it all in the gym. And I can vouch for it. It weren't as if he missed a training session. He never made excuses. And if he did want to make excuses, he had me next to him telling him, no, we're not. But he never did, because he knew that's just not how we needed to train for this fight. But Tom is the sort of person that he could sell ice to an Eskimo. How many people did he make believe that he could beat Dewar? Did he make believe that he could beat Majidov? He could beat, Hrgovic? And this time it was more of a confidence in that belief because he believed it. And honestly, I did as well. From how we sparred, I thought he could do it. So I would actually love to see him stay in boxing, whether that is as a coach, as a manager, as an advisor. For someone who could promote you in a certain way, as Tom can talk. And it's not like as if he just talks rubbish. He could talk a good game. And people can benefit from that. And from the knowledge that he's got, he's probably got more knowledge in his pinky than some of these people have in the entire life.
Brilliant. So yeah, just finally, like I said, 2-0, you're going to sort of wait the COVID period out and not rush anything in your boxing career. You've got a good group here, all seem very tight-knit. Obviously, Josh at the helm as well, where you're training. Could this be a really... could I be speaking to someone at the start of a very positive journey? Could we see you? I know you said you want to be up there with the greats and stuff, but, could this be an exciting next 5 years? Sell yourself. Give yourself a promoter-style salesman pitch to the fans who perhaps never heard of you, never seen you before. Why should they tune in to Anise Taj?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot more of me, if I'm honest. And if I'm honest to all the fans, fans of IFL TV, because, you don't know me yet. Let's just get that in there. Braveheart and Anise Taj. But it won't be something that you're going to see, one video of and then that's it, I'm done. It's, I'm here to stay. And I've got the belief in my ability, and it's not the case of I believe it, but it's not, I don't have that sort of ability. My sparring partners, if, you know, like I said, if I could say who I've sparred and who I've given it to, if they gave a count, and if we released, you know, if we could get the videos of that from the CCTVs or whatnot, you know, it would show you the sort of level that I'm on. And the only reason I'm not rushing it is because I don't need to. There's no point in me rushing it. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to build myself up the right way. The sort of fights that I want at the moment are your journeyman, the learning ones, the ones who will show me what I'm doing wrong. But if I do get a fight that I think, or me and Josh spoke about, if there's a fight that comes that we think is worth taking, we'll take it. And do I think there's anyone in the cruiserweight division at the moment that I'm on level with? Yeah, probably top 15. And that's not just being arrogant. That's not being, you know, cocky or anything of the such. That's, I know what my level is. And there'll probably be plenty of people watching this in the cruiserweight division that thinking I'm disrespecting them. It's no disrespect to you guys. It's just I know what level I'm at. And just imagine a Roy Jones Jr. Okay, so 28th of November, Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson. Both those styles, I can come with both of them. I can come with your Muhammad Ali. I can do the Philly shell like Smoking Joe Frazier. It's whoever I have in front of me, I make my plan according to what they bring. Will I study them? Yes, I will. And I'll come out. But if in the first round what I'm doing isn't working, I'm intelligent enough and I put myself, I'm not going to, again, people are going to think I'm being arrogant and cocky. People that we think of having the highest boxing IQ is someone like Floyd Mayweather. I think I've got boxing IQ like him. I can read a fight. I can read an opponent. If you twitch, if you do a certain thing, if you move your leg a little bit before you punch, I've already read it. So if I break you down, that's it. And we were speaking earlier about that 48-second knockout. I'm satisfied by it, but I don't get a pure satisfaction. I get a pure satisfaction of beating you down, then knocking you out. I'd rather rip you apart and show you you're not on my level, then knock you out. And that's what I aim to bring. I aim to bring, you know, everything. The fireworks, sparklers, everything. Imagine the Guy Fawkes night, you know, all of the colours. That's what I'm bringing. I'm bringing a rainbow of styles.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And you're that rare breed of Scottish Pakistani fighters as well. We've got Kash Farouk, who looks like he's going to be a monster at that weight. So, you know, you and Kash can do it for Scotland and Pakistan combined and lead for the next decade or two.
We could do. You know, even Mohammed Wasim is boxing up in Scotland. Yeah. The thing with Kash Farouk and Mohammed Wasim, and I respect them, and I've come from a similar background in the sense of they've come, well, not Kash Farouk as much, but Mohammed Wasim's come from the Pakistan Boxing Federation, and I've boxed out there, and I was the number 2 in 2019 there, boxing their championships. You know, imagine that someone who's never boxed there going out in 45-degree weather. You know, we never see 30 degrees here, let alone 45. And I'm boxing exactly, and I'm boxing the greenhouse, and I've knocked out 2 people, and I'm coming up against someone who's had 115 fights and represented them in the Asian Games and the South Asian Games, won a silver medal, stuff like this. Someone who, me and him, it was going to be a competition for the Olympic place. And the head of the Boxing Federation had said to me, be ready for a hard graft because it's on merit. I'm not giving it to either of you. Whoever earns it, they will get it. And so for them, they're pure Pakistani, whereas I've got that slight difference. I'm half Scottish and I'm half, my mother's Scottish, my father's from Pakistan. My father's born in Britain, he's second generation Pakistani. So my grandfather's from the Kashmir Mountains. So I've got Highlands and I've got Kashmir Mountains. So, you know, I'm a mountain man. And, you know, when you get in the ring with me, I just think you're food. I'm going to take you apart. And that's what it will be. And, you know, I love my Scottish family. I love, you know, the Pakistani family. And I happily wear the saltire on my shorts as well as the Pakistani flag. And I'm proud of who I am. And the Scottish is also Celtic, so I've got some Irish in there possibly. So Ireland, I love you too.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special.
Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free impartial advice on all your debt.